To play in nature is to be entertained and to be stimulated by nature. To me, that's chillaxing by the beach or taking a walk in the park. But there are other forms of play too, like at night, in the dark, in the wild. Ivan is a professional nature guide who is leading me to brave our wild with a night trek.
Bukit Batok Nature Park is one of the few fairly forested parks where people are still able to visit at night to walk around, look for nocturnal wildlife. So along the streams, you might get things like fishes, frogs, especially in the forested areas, you might even get things like prawns and freshwater crabs living in this kind of small waterways.
I've never seen a small stream like this in Singapore.
When people go off the trails, they can end up coming across other animals that do not like being stepped on. For instance, the most minor ones, ants. More major ones, you get things like snakes. There might even be a wild boar sleeping somewhere in the bushes, and then it gets disturbed, and then that's when people have a high chance of getting hurt.
A walk in the wild at night gives me the chance to see nocturnal creatures which are usually resting in the day. And the fact that us humans can't see very well in the dark actually adds to the thrill. I feel like a kid on an adventure. It's kind of spooky.
Hey, it's a mother and baby kologo.
Where the baby at?
Okay, so you can see it on the left side of this kologo. So this is an animal that's only found in Southeast Asia. Alright, this is the Malayan kologo, okay, and they're actually quite commonly seen in Bukit Batok Nature Park. Right, they are gliding mammals. It is actually on its own unique group of mammals, quite closely related to primates, which means that they're actually quite closely related to human beings and monkeys and apes.
How do you see these things? I'm walking on one thing, you're spoiling like 6 other animals. It's not fair.
It's experience and a lot of nights spent in the forest.
What made you become a nature guide?
I grew up with a passion for animals, and then as I grew older, I wanted to make a difference by sharing what we can find here in Singapore and by getting people to care more, to learn more about how Singapore, despite being so urbanized, is still home to such rich biodiversity. And hopefully, through this awareness, we're able to do more to make Singapore not just a great place for the urban environment, but also a safe haven for all the wildlife that can find here in our midst.
It didn't take me long to do my bit of wildlife spotting too.
What's that? What?
Chicken.
What? Where?
Tree chicken.
Where?
Tree chicken.
Hey. Okay. I didn't see that just now.
You sneaky. You sneaky chicken, you.
Okay, let's not disturb him. He's sleeping.
I was scared. I just saw something white above my head in the trees, and I was not ready for that adventure. Under Ivan's lead, I'm learning to keep my eyes peeled and my ears open.
You can hear the owl right now, right? So that's a smaller owl called the Sundascops owl, actually quite a common and widespread species in Singapore. So very cute, all right? Only about this big. So let's see what else we can find over here. If the owl suddenly attacks you,
it responded
it's
to
not
me.
my problem. So you can hear, this is the symphony of the night.
So are these cicadas?
No, cicadas usually call during the daytime. Crickets are the night shift, right?
What I found was that I actually really enjoyed listening to what was around me. It was a real nice sense of peace, but also excitement because it's so many unknown sounds. I kind of found myself connecting with my inner child and being really playful around here. Every sound was a new sound, every smell was a new smell, every sight a new sight. And I think that's something that, if I didn't experience today, I don't think I would have reconnected with myself like that. When I stepped in there, I felt like I was transported to another world. I felt like my senses were heightened. I felt I was more attuned to what was going on around me. I'm used to nightlife in Singapore. Not this kind of nightlife, but I could get used to it. The wind, the water, the earth. We connect with these elements of nature more deeply when we play in them. And these are experiences I've not had before. I've learned to let go of my apprehension when pitting my body against the elements. Be more appreciative of the wild in the city and let my spirit soar, especially when I'm bringing something I made to life in the wind. But you know what the best part is? There's so much more in nature that I'm gonna play in, and I can't wait.
Male infertility on the rise.
More men are less shy about coming forward to get tested.
A telehealth service with discretion.
We tackle men's health conditions such as erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, hair loss, and mental health.
And mirrors in the gym. Friend or foe?
The mirror can be great motivation when you look right into it, but it's also a double-edged sword.
On the Pulse, Saturday on CNA.
China's population is shrinking.
In 2023, we have seen this decline in fertility and rising mortality rate.
All this would affect the competitiveness of the economy and innovation.
Can migration solve China's demographic woes?
I came here because of business, and China is very good at business.
China's shrinking population. Insight, Thursday on CNA.
Cryptocurrency prices crash, DeFi companies blow up, NFT scam, GameFi hack, fraud, and the Metaverse land bust. I've always wondered, is there something more behind the headlines? Web 1 and 2 have already changed how we live, work, and play. What happens when the next evolution is powered by a host of new values and technologies?
Web3 is one of the most important inventions for Asian artists.
How can we rescue Taiwan IT industry? I cannot see any solution than Web3.
Thailand missed out on the Web2 boat totally.
Now we are the fastest move in action.
I don't think we know what the next trillion-dollar businesses will be, but they are absolutely coming.
Join me as I learn from builders in Asia, building real use cases in real life.
Desire. Love is surprises. Love Link Perfect Match. Link Perfect Match. Only natural diamonds with grading certificate. Mason Jewelry.
Headline news this hour. A tenuous calm over Israel, Lebanon and Gaza after a volley of rocket fire today. The Israeli army says nobody wants an escalation now. Lebanon's Hezbollah group, meanwhile, says it is being vigilant. Israel launched airstrikes on Lebanon and Gaza in the early hours of Friday in retaliation for a barrage of missiles sent to its northern region yesterday. China has imposed sanctions on Taiwan's de facto ambassador to the U.S. after President Tsai Ing-wen met House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Ms. Zhao Bin-Kim was first targeted by China last August in response to then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island. China and France have released a joint statement as Chinese President Xi Jinping and French leader Emmanuel Macron wrapped up their meetings in China. Both sides support efforts to restore peace in Ukraine on the basis of international law and oppose armed attacks on Ukraine's nuclear power plants. The two leaders earlier held informal talks in Guangzhou today on top of their official discussions in Beijing. And that's the latest from the CNA newsroom.
You can only hide secrets like this for so long.
Oh, look at this. Repatriation of Chinese seamen at Liverpool.
When the men disappeared, it was an awful thing to happen, and a lot of people suffered.
There are a lot of people in this country who don't know nothing about it. And that's a bloody disgrace.
He was targeted because he was a person of colour. This was her country, and yet they still had to leave.
They stood side by side with the Australians in the war, and they had just as much right to be in Australia as I did.
That 1 week in jail changed my father for the rest of his life. He wasn't a criminal. He just wanted to be with his wife and his children.
Watch The Exiles on demand at cna.asia.
Don't miss the opening of the second session of Singapore's 14th Parliament. Live on Monday on CNA.
These are hyped to be the next big thing after smartphones. Gadgets so small and light you could wear them 24/7 on your body. They're fashionably known as
wearables.
Watches, eyewear, smart teeth.
Almost anybody will be wearing one of these, which is monitoring their health, their vital signs.
Your doctor is able to keep a close eye on you.
We're actually able to see a lot more in the data. Predicting diseases that you may not have yet.
That could be quite critical in saving a person's life.
The promise of wearables is huge. Every latest wearable device out there is fancier and cooler than the previous one that came out. I'll give you that much. But it seems to me that they're still doing the same old boring, like tracking steps and getting your heart rate, and maybe they've got a bunch of other functions that I don't use. My question is, what happened to all those life-changing features that we were once promised?
I know what you're thinking. What does this guy know about the future? That's the thing. I'm no expert. That's why I've signed up for this job.
Oh boy. I feel like I'm giving birth to aliens.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, there you go. Right there.
Wow.
Digital resurrection.
Digital biomarkers.
Tissue engineering.
GM manipulations.
Organ on a chip.
If all these buzzwords are supposed to change the way we live forever, I want to be in on that conversation to find out exactly what's the big deal. Remember this from 2013? The ultra-futuristic Google Glass.
Okay, Glass, take a picture. See, it's all of you. Nice. So it seems like the primary use for something like this would be to take creepy pictures of your Tinder date. So I'm not surprised this didn't take off.
Because of its cosmic price tag, yet no clarity on how such a product may be useful, Google Glass was taken off the market after just 2 years. But the hype over wearable technology kept going.
You know, when these devices first came out, it is true that people were buying them. But a 2016 study showed that about a third of them stopped using these products within the first 6 months.
But tech companies are still investing. For example, Apple, the R&D budget was just $1 billion in 2009, but they increased it to $19 billion in 2019.
I think there's almost a universal agreement that devices that are closer to our bodies, that's where the next big thing's going to be.
So, Doc, I see you're wearing a smartwatch. Is that for, tracking your steps and keeping fit?
Actually, no. I'm just using the watch to tell the time and also to look at the photo of my wife. This way, please.
Seems kind of strange that Dr. Yeo is grossly underusing his wearable device because he is the CEO of a startup dealing with cutting-edge wearable sensors.
So for today, you are just going to help us sew a sensor onto this fabric.
Sew?
Yes.
That's right. I'm quite good at that. I come from a family of tailors, actually.
Fantastic.
But where's the sensor?
You can see the sensor just right here.
This is the sensor?
Yes.
I thought this was some extra thread I was going to throw in the dustbin.
We developed a new method of fabricating microfiber sensors which can be sewed directly onto your fabrics that you wear today. And it's machine washable as well, so you can wash it like your normal fabric.
My job is to stitch this sensor into this piece of fabric.
How is something like this more effective than the sensor in my smartwatch, for example?
So the sensors in the smartwatch are usually rigid devices, and because it's rigid, you will not be able to cover such a big surface area, especially for body parts. For sensors like ours, you can sew a lot of sensors within the same surface area, which allows us to capture more data. It allows us to know not just the body movements, but how your muscles behave when you do specific movements.
In other words, Dr. Yeo's sensors can measure even minute contractions in our muscles to tell us how hard they're working.
Hi there. Hey, what's up, guys?
And that's why they came up with the Aries Band, a prototype armband packed with their microfiber sensors that can track how effective your strength training session has been.
This band. Oh, wow.
We can start the workout.
Okay, we're doing a bench press?
Yes, a bench press.
Okay, cool.